Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kira Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kira, and you guys, you are in for the best treat of your life, Consultant Takeover. That's right. Get ready. They are dropping some dynamite. Our consulting team is incredible, guys, and we are so blessed and so fortunate to have them sharing tips and tricks with you today. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast.
Oh my gosh, Brit, I just have to celebrate this excitement that I just figured out this program that we use for our podcasting, and I was really excited to know that now we know how to do this. I'm so excited. Brit, I love podcasting with you. You let me be my weird, quirky self, and I freaking truly appreciate that about you. So thank you. Thank you for being here with me today.
It's more fun that way. And I mean, Tiff is a veteran podcaster. It's just a new program, guys. That's it. It's just the program.
Touche. That's a good point to make. I appreciate that. I do know what I'm doing. I promise. Just not this program. It's fine. It's fine. So, Britt, I have a question for you. Have you been walking? I know we travel a ton, right? You're in offices, you're doing coaching calls. I'm in a ton of practices and doing coaching calls. So I have a question for you. Have you been walking into every single practice lately or getting on phone calls with every practice and they're like, oh my gosh, Britt, I have so many patients on the schedule. I don't know what to do with it. I have 0 openings and my hygiene schedule is booked. Has that been happening for you?
I mean, it's more our hygiene schedule and some. Hygiene's been still pretty busy since, a few years ago, but that's usually not the case. If anything, this week, one office is like, I don't know what's happening. We've had more people falling off the schedule and openings to fill. That's usually what I hear more than I am hearing like, oh my gosh, we just have nowhere to put it.
Right. Same. And I love, by the way, that you said like, than a couple of years ago, because I'm so sick of hearing that word. So thank you. I think we all appreciate that.
That is now how I reference it, and we all know what that is.
I am so tired of hearing it. I just spent a couple days in the Pacific Northwest, and they are still very tied up in all of it. And so I'm just like, well, I can't hear that word again. So good job. Thank you.
Same. I'm in Northern Virginia, and I was like, oh yeah, it
is still.
Arizona's a little different. I've got my mask. Don't worry. I've always got one on me. I'm good to go. But sometimes I forget.
You are more prepared than I am. I walked through the door and was like, hey guys. And I was like, oh, okay. Still doing that, I see. Arizona Wild Wild West. We've been over that since about April of 2020. So it's a little hard to remember.
It's a little different there. Like it's a good time. We love our Arizona, but it is definitely the Wild West and every way, shape, and form.
It really is. It makes me so happy. I'm like, there's never a dull moment. I love it here. So I agree. I think most practices are like trying to fill the schedule, or they have a full schedule and then things fall off last minute. And I think it's super common. It's super rare, in my opinion, to have a practice that's just like busting at the seams, never has cancellations, never has openings, never has anything happening. But I think it's really smart to have protocols in place and have ideas on how to fill that schedule, because it's so common that it falls apart, which, by the way, this is a side caveat for all of you guys listening. Okay. If your schedule's falling apart, while I am sitting here and saying that it is common, okay, there's always a root cause for things that are happening. Okay. So if your schedule is consistently falling apart, it's not just like this one-off where it's like, oh, dang, this is a weird Wednesday, right? Like if it's falling apart consistently, we need to dig a little deeper. So we're going to give you some tips and some tools today, some tricks on some call lists to pull from, some ways to fill that schedule. But I want you guys to really be looking at what the heck is going on, because if you're experiencing this a lot, and by a lot, I mean like even a day, a week. Like I want this to be a couple times, one time a month that this is happening. If it's happening more consistently than that, we need to dive in and really figure out what that root cause is. And it could just lead back to right communication to our patients. It could be your confirmation calls. It could be pre-collecting. It could be a whole slew of things, but let's just put that caveat out there. So
I'm glad you did. And this office that I was in that we were talking about it, you better believe as I was sitting there, I was like, well, what's going on when people are like making a change to their appointment with canceling or rescheduling? How are we handling it? It's like, oh, well, they just text me and I text them back and I'm like, what?
Yes.
Number one, no, they call you. It's always harder to fill it than save it. So we're going to try to save it first. And then if we can't save it and we have openings to fill, we're going to talk about some ideas on things you can do for that.
Absolutely. And here's the deal, guys. If you wouldn't let your boyfriend break up with you by text message, why in the halibut is it okay for your patients to text you and be like, hey, by the way, I'm not coming tomorrow? If my boyfriend texted me, hey, I'm not coming to dinner tomorrow, I'd be like on the phone immediately. Excuse me, what do you mean? I reserved that time for you. I specifically set that night for you and you're canceling on me? It's the same thing, you guys. I don't know why this is so hard. So don't let them break up with you. And I love that you said that because my favorite text back to a text cancellation is, oh, I can't take these kinds of requests by text message. I call, first of all, when I get that, the first thing I do, I get that text message, I'm on the phone. And I'll text back and say, hey, I can't handle this by text message. My system won't allow it. So I left you a voicemail. If you can give me a quick call back, we can take care of this over the phone. It's that simple. It's that simple, you guys. So don't let people break up with you by text message. That's embarrassing. Okay, so next time you allow
We're training them that it's super easy.
Yes.
So again, there can be many reasons. You're training them that it's super easy, and I guarantee you will continue to have more of a problem unless you retrain them that, nope, you've got to talk to me and we're going to find a way to keep that appointment.
Yes, we're training each other constantly. And what you are willing to accept is how far they will go. They will push you. This is human nature. This is patience. This is your boyfriend. This is your kids, your spouse. This is your friend. It's anyone in your life I do it to everyone, right? I pushed today. I'm like, shoot, I got to get this together. And I'm like, Brit's sitting there waiting like 3 minutes is probably her max. And she's gonna be like, where is she? I'm like, I'm trying, right? But we will push to see how far we can get for as long as we can. So don't allow them to train you. You train them. So oof, that was a good one. Thanks, Brit.
So box number one. Now let's talk about some solutions for them, Tiff.
Yeah, okay.
When we have those openings.
I like it. Thank you. I needed that tangent in my life. I feel alive and awake now.
I love that we were both on the same page that we're like, well, we've got to get a little something in first before we go talk about it.
I like the last thing I need is for us to put out a podcast that's like, cancellations are normal. Here's how you fill it. Like, no, then teams are coming to doctors like Tiff and Brit said it's totally normal. Like this is how I feel.
Everybody has it. It's fine. We need to not worry about it. No, not true. Not true.
Don't be the normal. Be the abnormal. The abnormal is the office that doesn't deal with this. So go above and beyond and freaking kill it because that's what our offices do. Our dental A team offices are learning how to combat this problem before it happens so that it doesn't keep happening. So when I say that Britt and I are talking to practices about this and we're in practice dealing with it, it means we're fixing it. And these practices continuing forward aren't having these problems anymore. So, so box number 2. All right. How do we fix it? How do we fix it? So call lists. I love call lists. I know everyone hates being on the phone. So again, don't let them break up with you. Like I don't want to make calls to try to fill a schedule. It's a pain in the tail and I don't want to do it. So I'm just not going to let the person break up with me over the phone or by text message. It doesn't happen. So little glimpse into my life, right? Treat everybody that way. I'm like, oh, you're not canceling on me.
Little piece of Tiff.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. And nobody cancels on me. That's fine. We'll find a way around it. There's a solution. So when it does happen to you guys out there, my number one go-to is obviously the ASAP list, right? So if I've got patients that I've told, hey, if this time comes available, like you're going to be one of the first people that I call. So I call and I say, hey, I've been able to manipulate the schedule or maneuver the schedule, or I've been able to move things around to accommodate your appointment. Please do not call people and say, I've had a cancellation and I can see you sooner, because you've just told that person that you take cancellations and that they can cancel on you. So I've had a change to the schedule. I've been able to work the schedule to get your appointment in. Great news. I can see you sooner. They don't need to know why. Okay. They don't need to know why. They don't really care whatsoever. Don't train them that they can cancel. So your ASAP list is number one, and your ASAP list better be built off of really great notes that say when, like what time and what day works best for those patients. So ASAP list number one. Britt, what would your second go-to be if the ASAP list didn't give you the fruits of your labor? What would be next?
One more comment before we go on from ASAP list is going to be with ASAP list. I'm 100% with you on notes. Also with extra like expectations set. Like, hey, I'm going to pop you on my VIP list. So when I can make my schedule work and find a time for you, like make the time for you, because again, we don't want them to feel like they're second choice, which is why we also don't want to say someone canceled, because it makes them feel like a second choice.
Yes.
We don't want them to feel like second choice. So like when I'm able to find a spot for you or make room for you so that we can get you in sooner, I'll give you a call, and it's usually about like within 24 to 48 hours that I'm going to have an appointment open for you. So I'm setting the expectation that when I call, it's not like, oh, like, no, it's too short of notice. I'm setting the expectation it's going to be pretty quick notice, so be prepared when I call you. And then if that doesn't work for them, that they're like, oh, I'm not able to make a change like that quickly, no problem. I've got you in the schedule. I'm not even going to waste my time putting you on the ASAP list right now. Then in my mind, I'm not going to say that to them, but I'm not going to put them on a list. I want it to be like a very efficient list for me to go to.
Agreed.
So that when I am taking the time to make phone calls, I'm choosing the highest value people to call that will be able to come into my schedule.
I love that.
That's my 2 seconds on ASAP. Number 2 place I'm going to go is my treatment tracker.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's where I'm going to go. So it's like, all right, do I have high production? How much time do I have? I've got my treatment tracker of all these people who don't have an appointment scheduled that I can go pick the one that's going to fit right where I need them and start to call that patient and get them scheduled for the treatment.
Oh, I love that. I totally love that. I'm writing these down so we don't forget at the end our action items. I like to, I will forget, and I like to make notes. So I love that. I think that's smart. I used to do the same thing. I would pop into my treatment tracker and look for that dollar amount. I'm like I'm not looking at everybody. I'm looking for the dollar amount that I need, or the amount of time that I need to fill on my schedule. So I love that. I think that's brilliant. And if you're not using a treatment tracker, you probably should be, because it creates beautiful lists for you. Another thing I like to do is I like to look ahead in the schedule, like a week or maybe 2 weeks, and look at same day, same time, and pull from those people first. My theory, my thought process, I like to put myself in people's shoes and try to figure out what would work for me. And if you were to move my appointment, right, and you made it like, if I was coming in on Monday at 2 and then you called me and now I'm coming in on Thursday at 10 a.m., I'm going to tell you honestly, truly, this actually happened with my dental office here in town. I was like, oh shoot, did I put this in my calendar right? What time is it supposed to be? It was like a 9 a.m. from an 11 a.m. and I totally botched it, and I was 30 minutes late, and it was a mess. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to take partial responsibility here, but like this whole thing was a freaking mess, right? So don't make it messy for people. I look ahead a week to 2 weeks, look at your frequencies for insurance, for hygiene. So make sure you're not messing anything up there. But I would call if you've got a cancellation and an opening on a Wednesday at 2, like call and look at Wednesday at 2 and be like, hey, guess what? I can see you a week earlier. Let's get you in. So if your ASAP list, your treatment tracker, I would look ahead at the schedule, people that are already on the schedule, because they're more likely to come in. And then I think unscheduled or broken appointments are my next go-to. So I say ASAP list, treatment tracker, look at the schedule, who's already on there that you can move up, and then look at the broken appointment list or the unscheduled list. My theory on that is that at some point they had scheduled it already. So it may be a quicker fruits for your labor than patients who you're trying to talk into the treatment for that purpose. Britt, you have any other ideas on that?
Oh, those are my big go-to,
Yeah.
and I might even change up. I know I said unscheduled, like treatment tracker second, but I would probably put your move people up in the schedule first. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say ASAP, move people up, then go to treatment tracker, and then go to all those kind of older ones
Yeah.
that are going to take some more calls to get scheduled.
I agree. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yep.
So then our order is ASAP list with really great freaking notes, you guys. ASAP list, same day, same time. So look ahead in the schedule. If it's not
Mhm.
same day, same time, like that's fine. Do your work, make it work. That's fine. But pull people who are already on the schedule. So ASAP list, look at your schedule who can move up. And then your treatment tracker, look for the either time or the dollar amount that you need to fill, and then your unscheduled list. So broken appointments, people who are already on the list, your recare list, people who haven't scheduled yet, all of those places, and just hammer it out. I love to leave a voicemail. I love calls, you guys. By all means, pick up the ding ding phone. Okay. So leave a voicemail and then follow it up with a text message. I usually would say, "Hey, it's Tiff with Dental A Team, and I just left you a voicemail, and I just needed to chat with you about an upcoming appointment. If you can please give me a call back as soon as possible." Real quick, Britt, I see this happen all the time, and I actually heard somebody say it this week, and I was like, "Oh, gouge my eyes out." I hear front office ladies and gents constantly say, "Well, wait, I already left a voicemail for somebody to try to take that spot, so wait and let's allow them time to call back." Yeah. Yeah. Same reaction. Okay, listen, if you didn't answer my call nor my text message when I sent it, I'm moving on because my job is to fill that schedule. And if you call back and you're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love to come in," and it's filled, I'm going to say, "Oh, dang it. You know what? Right after I chatted with you, somebody snagged that appointment. Well, what I'm going to do is leave you on my list, and you're going to be one of the first people that I called next time I get an opening." And you know what I've literally had patients say? Totally get it. I'm going to make sure that I have my phone on because I really want to come in sooner, and I'm going to answer the call next time you call. Yeah, that's right. You are.
I'll, e-
You're right. You
I'll
are.
even leave that in my message or my text when I make my
Yes.
first call, and I'll say, "Hey, here's what I've got. We'll take the first person who calls us is going to get that appointment. So give me a call back as soon as you get this message."
Yep.
Um, Another place I'm going to look when I've got openings in my schedule is I'm going to send like a little like SOS message out to my team as
Yeah.
well and say, "Hey, we've got an opening tomorrow. So any patients in the office today that might need treatment, so they can start to tee it up for us already and say, "Hey, we might have some time tomorrow to get you back in.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a look." Or if I do, I'm sure I've got time. "Hey, I think I've got some time tomorrow if you're available for us to get it taken care of." So anyone, I want my whole team thinking and helping to support me in filling that
I
schedule.
love that idea. That's beautiful. Yep. Okay. Here's the deal, guys. Number one, remember if you are finding that you're rebuilding your schedule often, we need to figure out the root cause. So dive into what's actually happening. But then on top of that, have a really great protocol for how to get things done. So, your protocol that we're giving you today, number one, I'm taking your SOS. Number one, send out an SOS to the team and say, "Hey, I've got this opening. If anybody in the office today or maybe family members can take it, keep your eyes and ears out for that." So, send an SOS out to the team. Hit your ASAP list. Okay, hit your same day, same time, or wherever in the future schedule that can be moved up. Then hit your treatment tracker. Then hit your unscheduled or broken appointments, recare lists, anything that is not on the books already that's just kind of sitting out there in the oblivion. Hit those lists up. Big pieces to remember: pick up the phone, make the phone call. On your phone call, make sure you let them know you're taking the first person to get back to you gets that spot. So set the expectations. We talk about that a lot with Dental A Team. Set the expectations, and that way there's not room for disappointment or error later. So let them know that it's going to happen that way. So make sure your verbiage is up to par. Send a text message after you leave a voicemail. I usually just I slim it down, but duplicate what I left in the voicemail and I send it out. And here's the great news, guys. There's this really cool feature on your computers, on your keyboards, and you can copy and paste. And I use copy and paste constantly. I have a Word document open, or I know on most Windows, they have those little sticky note things, right? So I used to just have everything that I would text patients or leave a note in a chart or in an office journal or whatever was on something like that. So if you're busting out a ton of calls and you're sending text messages afterwards, copy and paste that sucker. Okay. Don't use names. Just say, hey, because what you'll do, because I've done it, is copy and paste and leave the old name in there. And they're like, well, that's rude. My name's Tiffany. I'm not Jessica. Okay. So don't do that, but make it work, make it count. Dive into diagnosis on why you're getting a lot of cancellations. If it's happening, write out this protocol. You've got the tools here. Make sure the verbiage is in there. Go freaking kill it, you guys. Britt, any last minute words you want to add?
I don't think so. I think the only thing is, guys, I think like Tiff said, if it's happening to you a lot, figure out why it's happening, retrain your patients. Think, where do we need to retrain people so that we're a priority and they know their appointments are important, and minimize how often we're having to use these resources, but at least know what you need to do when you have the opportunity of an opening in the schedule.
Love it. I love it. Britt, thank you. I loved podcasting with you. Our tangents were awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed them. And I hope you really feel the passion from us. And if you're watching this, that you see our faces. And I hope you saw Britt's face earlier when I asked that very important question. So go kill it. Go write your protocol. I can't wait to hear all about it. Let us know how it's working for you. hello@thedentalateam.com, and leave us a freaking review, because we love hearing how awesome these tools are for you in your practice. Can't wait to hear from you.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.